Jon Moody here at GHS Strings at NAMM, and you're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. We're coming to you today from the 2018 NAMM show, Anaheim, California, at the GHS booth with our good friend Mr. GHS himself, Jon Moody. Hey, John.
Hey, John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. You are, as we were talking earlier, more than the GHS guy. Not that that's not enough for anybody, but
Right.
You're also a very accomplished bass player in your own right. I've heard you play, I've heard your record, and I thought our audience would be interested in some information about you and your musical upbringing and, well, how'd you become a bass player?
I blame it on my mom. My mom was a string bass player in the community orchestra.
That's really cool.
Yeah, in college, then after college, all up until I was born. So we make that whole joke about how there's that study of Mozart for babies. Like, if you let the kids listen to Mozart when they're in utero, and then they, it helps brain development and stuff. Well, when my mom was playing string bass, when she was pregnant with me, the bass was resting, on your body. And so we joke that those bass frequencies kind of just paved the way. So, started in cello in 4th grade, picked up string bass in the classical world in 6th.
I didn't know that about you either.
Yeah, and I was very much 10th, 11th grade into classical and jazz, and very much a purist in the terms of, just playing string bass. Had no desire to do electric until junior year when the jazz band was going down to Florida, and the music director said, look, I'll be honest, we're not taking the string bass, we don't have room. You got to learn to play electric. So I did that, and the student teacher at that point gave me a copy of Heavy Weather and said, maybe you want to listen to this. Maybe this is the tipping point for you to give the electric bass a try.
The next day you came to school playing Teen Town flawlessly.
Right. No, the next day I kept coming and going, what's that intro to Birdland? What is that? So, but that opened the door. And most of the time I just always gigged because I always thought it was fun, and I had really good teachers in the Lansing, Michigan scene because the jazz scene out there is great, so I just started subbing for them. And then there were times where, instead of subbing, the regular people would just start calling me more and more. So
first call guy. Well, what about your influences? Was Jocko an influence from the beginning, or did he kind of scare you away, and was there anybody else?
The hardest thing about that was he started it, but because he's such a legend for just opening the door to other people trying stuff out, I really tried to avoid him at the beginning. And so I tried to look at other things. And oddly enough, I was touring Europe with a high school orchestra over one summer and trying to listen to some new music, and one of my buddies in the bass section handed me a copy of the Michael Manring album. So yeah, I avoided Jocko, but went right to Michael Manring. But so
wait a minute, just a tangent here. Your teacher wouldn't let you go to Florida with an upright bass, but later you went to Europe with an orchestra. I assume that was with an upright bass.
That was with string bass. Yeah, that was through Blue Lake.
Isn't that fun traveling with an upright bass?
It's a logistical nightmare, is what it is. But yeah, Manring was one. I got into Oteil Burbridge a lot because I really appreciated his melodies and things behind just the jam band stuff. And when he started into the Allman Brothers, I really appreciated how instead of him just being like, no, I'm doing my own thing and stuff, he approached it as, the Allman Brothers have been around for a while. I'm going to pay homage to those guys while still doing my thing with them.
Barry Oakley and Alan Wooden.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and Barry Oakley actually, from Oteil, had me go back and really got to be a big fan of Barry Oakley's. On the string bass side, I've been a huge Slam Stewart fan for the longest time. Because it almost just seemed like his sense of humor was in everything he was playing. Like, you could tell he was probably cracking up as he was doing some of this stuff, And that's kind of some of the things I tried to start emulating more that way. And those are really the big ones.
Those are some good ones. You put out a record about, a year or two ago?
About a year or two ago, yeah, called Music for Our Hands.
Just bass, nothing else, just you.
Yeah, just bass. I kind of wanted to treat it more like the Brandenburg concertos for, the Bach cello suites.
Okay.
for that, how, solo, unaccompanied. And I thought that would be cool, because I always joked with my heavy classical background, when somebody would see me playing electric and they'd say, "Oh, do you play classical music too?" I'd make the joke, "Well, I'm not pompous enough." So, but you'd listen to a bunch of my stuff, and it's like, well, no, it's the classical foundation's there. It's very plain to see. So just, I guess the same thing like with Oteil going into Allman Brothers, pay homage to that. So,
I interviewed Stewart just this morning, as a matter of fact, another GHS artist, and on his last album, he had a suite of 7 movements of unaccompanied bass, but this new album that's not even out yet is all unaccompanied electric bass. It's a whole succession, and he was, leave it to Stu.
Right, and it's funny that Stu's going that way, because I actually started, I played at one of the bass jams last year here at NAMM, and I played with a drummer, and a lot of people said, I really didn't realize how, you could hear a lot more of heavy metal and rock and stuff in these songs that were originally very classically based by themselves on the album, but they took on a whole another life with the drummer. So I've been doing a lot more duo gigs now, and starting planning stages for the second album to come out maybe in the fall. But this one's going to have drummers with it.
All right, fall of 2018. Be sure to let us know, and we'll be sure to let them know. We're sitting in the GHS booth, as I mentioned. Tell me about GHS. The company's been around for a while. You make some great strings. You have some very highly acclaimed artists. Tell me something about the company that either you think people don't know or you think they ought to know.
The biggest thing on it is, it's a worldwide company. We ship internationally, all over. But it's still, at the end of the day, a small family-owned Midwestern company.
Battle Creek, Michigan.
Battle Creek, Michigan, home of Kellogg's and Post and GHS. But the president and his wife come to the NAMM show. They're in the office all the time too. They're on the floor seeing stuff gets done. It's not as corporate of a company as you'd expect. It is.
I've been there. You invited me there.
I know. See, and you learned that firsthand.
Yes, I did. It's a great place, and they are great people.
Yeah, and we also still have a lot of the original paneling still on the wall, and we have some really good late 60s, early 70s wallpaper in the break room, so a lot of that.
Quite a vibe, cool vibe. Well, tell me about the future for Jon Moody and or for GHS Strings.
Well, we came out with some new bass strings this past year, the balanced nickels and the pressure wound bronze, and a lot of it's still trying to tweak some things that we have. Same thing, paying homage to what we've had before, but still moving it into a new direction. So there's some tweaks coming to the round core bass boomers.
I've experienced those and have enjoyed those firsthand,
Oh,
courtesy of Jon Moody, so thank you very much.
Well, you have your perks when you come to the office, so. But, so there's that. So we're going to work on the super steels and the progressives hopefully this time around. We're going to do a lot more acoustic stuff, and in terms of me, the album's going to be coming out. We're going to start working on it.
You have a title for it or a working title for it?
A lot of these newer songs are all based on places I've gone and traveling, because I've done a lot of traveling in the past year and a half. So I was trying to think of something like Travelogue, or maybe do the thing of, I was thinking of even calling it a little Insomnia. So, because a lot of those ideas started coming up, when I couldn't sleep. So it's like, all right, well, let's do something. So, but just working on that. I'm pretty active in the musical theater scene in Southwest Michigan. I play in a lot of the pits there. So,
I didn't know that about you either. Upright and electric, or?
Whenever they call for it, yeah. If I can fit into the pit, I'll do both. But usually, a lot of it's just more electric.
I've done a ton of that kind of work. I've always really enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's as we put it, it's the structure of classical music because you're reading from a chart, but it also has the rebellious attitude of free jazz, because at any time something could happen and you've got to roll with it. You've got to look at the chart and be like, okay, we just lost 8 measures, and that's fine. We know right where we are. Oh, okay, we're taking this back a little bit. Yep, we could do it. So,
last question, John. What would you be if you weren't a bass player? Something outside of music.
Well, I would probably be in graphic design.
Really?
That's what I started with, and actually, even though my parents were both music educators, the first thing they said when I went to college was, for God's sakes, don't go into music. But I went into art because I'd always been pretty good at illustrating and stuff, and I'd done some political cartoons and things that were always well received. So I went to school for graphic design, and my first job worked at a regular local newspaper doing layouts and things. And I spent probably 15 years in that world before actually jumping into GHS.
You know, I've known you for quite a few years, and there are a lot of things I'm learning here that I didn't know before. So it is great sitting down, catching up with you. Maybe we'll do a follow-up when the new record comes out.
That'd be great.
And thanks for everything. And we really admire and appreciate all you do for GHS and recognize your own career as well. So keep it up.
Thank you so much, John.
On location at the GHS booth with Jon Moody at the 2018 NAMM show, I'm John Liebman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.